So you're on the attacking side and you might be wondering how people at the highest level decide which site they want to engage on. There's only 2 or 3 bomb sites to work with, so how do they know which one is the right play? Do we rush A, B, or C? What if I told you that the answer is actually none of these? In this video, I want to highlight one attacking side strategy that I don't see used nearly enough in solo queue, and that's actually by playing default, and how you can actually win more by thinking less. What's up guys, it's Quatch Daddy here, bringing you some more in-depth analysis so you can suck just a little bit less. If you want more videos and guides like this, be a homie and drop a like, sub, and comment your thoughts on this and what your favorite attacking strategy is. Playing default is essentially the equivalent of doing nothing at the beginning of the rounds and not fully committing to a certain strategy from the get-go. If you're not familiar with this concept, I would imagine it sounding fairly counterintuitive to you at first. Why would you not want to have a clear strategy as to what you want to do in the round? In actuality, it's actually a fairly risky move to try and rush a certain site in Valorant due to a multitude of factors. The first of which is simply how easy it is for hard rushes to be suppressed in this game, as many of the agents as of the time of this recording are able to easily force back multiple agents with their abilities. Abilities like Sage's Barrier Orb, Breach's Fault Line, and Cypher's Cyber Cage are extremely strong suppression tools that will absolutely terrorize entire teams if they decide to push through them. The second big reason why rushes aren't that viable in this game are due to the way that the maps in the game are designed. If you haven't noticed, all 4 of the maps in the game as of the time of this recording are all loaded with insane amounts of little corners and nooks and crannies that defenders can hide in. This makes rushing incredibly risky, as most of the time you'll be attempting to go for scuffed bomb plants without fully clearing a site. More often than not, you'll find that you missed a couple of corners and your team could get mowed down because of it. Another classic struggle I see teams that want to commit to a single site face is giving up a lot of ground on the map and eliminating their own options to be forced to commit to a bad engage. You may have experienced this yourself when you try to force a site and are stopped in your tracks due to something like Sage Wall and are just dancing around a site trying to find a pick to force your way in. If you don't have someone on the other side of the map, or frankly even watching your flank, you're bound to get your options slowly cut off and will eventually get picked off one by one. Although rushing is not going to have a high success rate in this game, it doesn't mean it won't have its place. Rushing is a great strategy if you want to use it as a mix-up, or if you want to mess with your opponents by altering the game pace. It's also really good if you felt out of the general style the opposing defenders have and find a general weakness in their strategy. Enemies will generally be caught off guard with your raw numbers, and as long as you're not held back by some of these hard suppressing abilities in the game, then you can easily punish your opponents and force your way into an advantageous scenario. Another very viable time to rush a site would be in pistol round, since people will not have the money to fully kit out their abilities most of the time, and players will have much lower DPS than normal due to the nature of the guns that will be in the game at that point. And because of this, you won't be able to be mowed down by certain agents like you would normally be able to in normal rounds, resulting in much easier bomb site takes overall. It's also a great way to start off a match right by trying to take a commanding first round. So now that you've gotten a better idea as to why rushing isn't the best strategy all the time, I want to explain precisely why playing default is going to be the way for you to go and helps you get a better understanding of how to read your opponent. To reiterate, playing default is spreading out your team across essentially every point available on the map and will allow you to gather information, look for trades, and burn the defender's utility so you can look for an opening to break onto his site. This allows you to take battles for smaller wins such as map pressure, looking for openings onto certain bomb sites, and to contest ultimate orbs on the map, which are all very underrated components in breaking down the defender's advantage. From this point, you and your teammates are able to gather information as to which agents are where and get an idea of where your highest chance of success will be. For example, if you know the enemy's Sage and Brimstone are on bomb site A and you've pressured out Sage Wall and Sky Smokes, then you might deduce that there will be much less resistance for you on B site because they only have a Reyna and Sova there. From this, you can transition your team's default positions into a commitment onto B site and attempt to break into it without revealing too much information. This can be done by having a lurker continue to exert pressure and trick the enemy as to where you are. Valorant is just as much about mind gaming your opponents as it is being about the better aimer, so if you can't utilize your precision aim, you can leverage your big brain instead. Playing default will also allow you to deduce where all enemies are playing and allows you to try and work out on getting picks on enemies. More often than not, you will find that at least one of your players will be able to snag a kill onto someone either looking for information or contesting an ultimate orb, and from there you can try to begin to make a play. This could look like committing your team all the way to that site, as there will be one less player there, baiting out the enemies by going to the opposite side while they attempt to rotate, or even continuing your default position and trying to further thin out the enemy lines. The most consistent impact that playing default will have on your games is that the pressure from it will most likely force out defending utility from your opponents, which makes subsequent pushes much easier to commit to. Forcing the enemy sage to put up her wall and burn her slow orbs will be huge for giving your team more leverage for pushing out onto a site later on. Knowing what critical abilities will be burned on the enemy team and where those agents are huge indicators of information that you can utilize in order to time out your push, and will be much better than just simply running to A or B at the start of every round. Being able to play default is a core attacking concept that is gravely underutilized and will be a crucial stepping stone in upping your game on the attacking side. And when you apply it correctly, you'll find yourself with many more options when you find yourself on the offensive.